Okay, let's see. Can we see some of your faces?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, there you are, most of you. Diksha, there you are. Hello, Diksha. And Garima is there, maybe somewhere. Kanika is there, good. Okay. All right, ready, steady, go. I think most of you have had a chance to look at the storybooks, so maybe you understand the stories a little better than last time. There's no doubt that the story we're going to look at today, The Big Game, is not 100% appropriate for our students because they don't play softball or baseball. But if you explain to them that it's very much like cricket, then half your job is over because they all know what cricket is. And as we go along, I'll just mention a few basic points that you as the teacher need to know about baseball. But first, any comments or questions before we get started? Anything you want me to focus on or emphasize in a different way than before? Now's your chance to sort of guide the conversation. Okay.
Start in your own way. Everything.
So as you think of something, please make your notes so that we can come back and talk about it. All right, good. So, The Big Game, reading lesson. You call your group together, you show the book, The Big Game, and give a brief summary of the story, which basically is Mike wants to play ball with the big kids, but he's not sure that he has the skills, that he knows how to play the game so that he can help the team to win. Now, all kids will understand that no matter what game we're playing. You can explain basically that in baseball, you hold a bat and you have a chance to hit it. And if it goes very far, of course, you run to the base. That's not so different from cricket. But if you don't get to the base, by the time someone catches the ball, you're out. And you have to sit down and wait for another turn. And the ultimate delight is if you hit the ball so far that you're able to run around 1, 2, 3 bases back to home. That's called a home run before anyone can catch the ball. So that's the object of the game. He wants to end up hitting the ball so far that he can run all around the square, the diamond, and get home, and then his team can win. Okay. Now, my son would be horrified at that description of baseball, but it's a good enough start for today. Remember, never give the books to the children until you have gone through the words and you're ready to actually have them look at the books. So you're going to show your word cards like we looked at last time. For this story, your word cards are Mike, capital M because it's his name, team, game, time, hope, home, base, safe, and fine. Now, these are such common words that you probably don't need to define them or use them in a sentence, but if you think any one of them is unusual or is being used in a different way than your kids are used to, then go ahead and explain it. You say each word and then you hang it in a column. These are the lesson words, and they all have, as you've noticed, silent E makes the vowel say its name. So we're going to hang those in one column. And then sight words that we'll look at the next day, we'll have in a different column. This helps the children to focus on what's this lesson about? And if they're in a column, they're more likely to have their eye look at each one. We're not so used to looking at things one on top of the other. If we're looking at them across, well, the eye will just skip across and they won't really stop and focus on it. So please put the words in a column. And so now, I know that you're looking for those silent E or magic E at the end of these words. I know you're looking at that, aren't you? Yeah. What does silent E do in these words, boys and girls? Hopefully we will say silent E makes the vowel say his name, or it's a magic E, so it gives its power to the vowel. Hopefully they're learning that. They may not. So you may again have to repeat that rule. But that's why we have 3 or 4 lessons on this rule. So if they haven't all gotten it by the second story, it's okay. Now, here's a chart, which you're going to be making, but I'll give you a clue. Teacher shows the chart with the lesson words. So these are the words that you're going to be focusing on in this story. So you've written them in a long chart on a nice thick paper so that it'll stay for a couple of years. And you've also made your magic wand. Kind of looks like a hook. So here's the job. I'm going to place my magic wand, arrow, right here on the word fine. And I'm going to show you that magic E makes I say his name. Fine. Now let's try another one. I'm putting my magic wand on the letter A. Magic E makes A say his name. Came, game, time, and so on. So you'll be making this chart. When I come to school someday, I'll bring it and you can just have it copied or make it. Notice each word is in a different color. That helps the children to focus on what you're talking about. This is just a stick of wood, and I took either a red paper or I just colored a piece of paper red to make the arrow. Anything that captures their attention is an effective learning tool. So you show the chart, place the arrow over the silent E and push it to the vowel so that it says its name. As a child says the word fine, you repeat it. Yes, that's fine. Came. Yes, came. Good job. And keep going through the, let it take a little bit of time. This is the learning opportunity. So, good. We'll need all these words for our new story. Here are your books. Let's do a picture walkthrough to see what's happening in the story. So here's Mike. He comes to see if he can play the game. Yeah, you know, he's in the game and it's time to bat. See, here he is holding his bat. Oh, I hope I can make a run. Oh, he got a hit, but it wasn't a home run. And he ran. Look, he ran to the base. But he was out. He didn't get there in time, so he wasn't safe. You need to use all the words that are going to come up in the story. He was sad. I did not get a home run. Oh, I hope I get a hit this time. Now, if he gets a home run, he and the kids can win. Oh, he didn't get a hit this time. He has to get a hit now. Let's see, is he going to get it? He did not get a hit. I can hit this. This will be a good one. I'll get it. Now he's very confident. He got a hit. It was a fine hit. And he ran to the base and he ran and ran. It was a home run. And his pals won the game. That's enough information about how the game works for the kids to be able to read the story and basically understand it. So we've done the picture walk. Let's see. Then you read the whole story. Now you're reading it. And you review a little bit about the important part of, you have to hit the ball, you have to get to the base before someone catches it. So then you can ask a couple of questions. Why does Mike want to get a home run? Oh, so they can win the game. What happens if he doesn't get to the base before they catch the ball? What happens to him? He's out. Now they understand about outs because in cricket we have outs. The kids might even ask you some questions, and if you don't know the answer, make it up or use a cricket analogy. You're not going to have a test on baseball at the end of this, okay? It's about learning the words. So don't worry about that. Or if you get some questions and you really want to know the answer, let me know and I'll try to fill you in. But more importantly, boys and girls, can you find any words in the story that have that magic E? So go ahead and look in your book. Let's see. All right, now they should raise their hand. 1 or 2, 3, 4 kids can find the word home or game or Mike. Fine. Whatever words they say, as long as they have a silent E makes the vowel say his name, you just repeat it and say, good. Another one. Okay, another one. Good. That's another one. Good. Keep it light, keep it easy. New thing here again to look at is the talking marks. So, boys and girls, on the very first page, look, Mike says, can I get in the game? And remember we looked at some talking marks? We have talking marks here and here. And yeah, so we want to be sure to notice that we have talking marks. That tells us people are really talking in the story. And there'll be an activity on that, so you want to focus on it. But I'm helping you avoid the word quotation because quotation marks are pretty meaningless for little kids. So talking marks is what they are. It's about the talking in the story. Now, and you read the story once more so that they're looking at the words. Now, you whisper read the story while I come around and listen to you, okay? If you don't know a word, you know, look at the beginning sound, look at the picture, remember what the story is about. You can probably figure out the word. So they whisper read, you're going around looking, listening to each child, and I keep asking you to make notes. So I thought I'll show you today. Here's a spiral notebook. I put some sticky notes on it, and I normally would fill it up, fill the whole page. And this one says Amit, Ravi, Maya, Sonu. So as I listen to Amit reading, I can just make a little quick remark on his sticky note. At the end of the day, when it's peaceful and they've all gone home, you can transfer Amit's sticky note to whichever notebook or system you're keeping notes on Amit, whether it's another notebook or a little, little spiral copy from the market. Then on that page of Amit, you'll have so many things about him for weeks and weeks together. But you can carry this around easily in your class. You could even use a smaller book. But you need every week to be able to comment at least twice or thrice on each child. Maybe one time you're just listening if he has the pronunciation or if he has the vocabulary, or if obviously he's reading more fluently, he doesn't stop at each word. So you have to gather the data. Good, so they have read, you've been listening, you've been making notes. You show them the worksheet for the day. And this sheet is about putting the talking marks. So I hope I hit a home run, said Mike. This is a sentence taken from the book. They can go back to their book and see where the talking marks belong. This is not a test. This is a learning opportunity. So good if they go in and realize, oh, they have to put it here, and they have to put it here. Oh yeah, and what's that other little thing? There's something I have to put here. Even if they don't remember the name of the word comma, putting it, and then you can say, oh, good, you remember to put the comma. Very good. Tricky thing. When there's a question mark or an exclamation mark, there's no comma. But even if they put it where they don't need it, let it go. They'll figure it out as they read more. Every time they read something with a question mark, they'll know, oh, they didn't put a comma there. Oh, I guess you don't have to put a comma there. You cannot teach everything. You can present, you can expose, you can explore. Some things that little brain has to figure out for itself. So chill. At the bottom, they're doing what they did last week, which is circle the magic E, color the magic E red, and draw an arrow to the vowel. So they'll color the E and meow, color the E and meow. They'll love it because they get to do what they saw you doing. Okay. So day one is basic introduction to what's going to be going on for the week. Day two, call the group back. Review the idea of the story. Well, Mike wants to play baseball with the big kids. He tries to hit the ball so they can win the game. That's the story. So she asks the students to read those word cards that are in the column, the lesson words. And then when they just read game, fame, whatever the words are, and she shows a separate set of word cards for the sight words. Said, the, well, but, got, this. There's, as we've said before, lots of concern about sight words, but there's no point in learning sight words outside of a story. But when you have them in a story and story after story for 10 or 20 stories, the word set becomes a known word. The, well, will, but, got, these become known words. So you're just introducing, this is the word said, this is the word the, hang them in a separate column. So the silent E words are here and the sight words are here. Say the word, hang it, say it again. So wait a minute, what does Mike want to do in this story? Yeah, that's right. I'm glad you raised your hand, thank you. Yeah, he wants to help win the game. Good. Any other ideas? What does Mike want to do? Yeah. Oh, he wants to play, sure. What else? He wants to be like the big kids. Kids are gonna have a lot of things to say. The more they say, the more each child is understanding and other kids like, oh yeah, he wanted to win, but he also wanted to play, wanted to show he was big. You guys want them to have more chance to speak in English? Here's a God-given opportunity. And it's something that they have experienced. So they know Mike wants to win. Mike wants to play. Even your reluctant speakers can probably, or even if it just says, play. You say, yes, Mike wants to play. That's right. Looking right at that child and letting the words go into his ear and brain. Don't make him say it again. Let it get in there. It's like when you make a pudding, it has to set before you can jam your spoon into it. So how will his team win? Well, they'll win if they hit the ball, if they get on base. Yeah, that's right. Now, where does Mike have to run? Yeah, he has to run home. He has to run to the base. Yeah, he wants to get back to home base. It doesn't matter. You want to know what the kids are thinking and how they are expressing themselves. It's not necessary for them to fully understand baseball, but they should understand that Mike wants to show he's a big boy and he can hit the ball well. So now I'm going to read the story to you again. You listen for the words with silent E that make the vowel say its name. So you read the whole story. The first page has a lot of text, but thereafter there's 2 lines or 3 lines. So it's not very text heavy. So now you're reading, they're listening. Then they read with their partners, page by page. Again, you're circulating because you don't have to do anything while they're reading with each other. You have to be listening and making a little evaluation of how it's going. Explain the day 2 activity, which is, we're going to have to read each sentence and then decide which one is correct and circle it. So the first choice is, Mike got in the time. That doesn't make any sense. Mike got in the game. Oh yeah, so circle that sentence. You can do the first one with them to give them an idea. In most of the cases in class 1, there are no directions written on the paper because the kids can't read them and understand them themselves. So when you have them at the group and you're handing out the paper, you'll have to tell them what to do. Sometimes the kinds of activities are repeated. So maybe by the 4th or 5th lesson, if they see this, they'll know what to do. So explain it, they go back to their tables and they read the story to themselves again. Because we want them to develop fluency. Maybe he knows that this says, if Mike gets a, but we want him to begin to say, if Mike gets a home run, that's where we're going with fluency. And it only comes by reading the same thing over and over again, knowing the words, knowing what they're doing in the sentence. If he can say, I hope I get a hit with expression, then you know he understands the sentence. If it's, I hope I get a hit, neither he's fluent, nor is he showing an understanding of what the sentence is talking about. Okay, let's look at number 3. So again, 3rd day, call them together, review the lesson words, the column of silent E makes the vowel say his name, and the sight words. As I mentioned last time, you can come up with various ways of reviewing them. You can hand the words out and each child has to say one and hang it up. You can say, this word begins with the sound of ma. Would anyone like to guess what word? However you want to do it. Give the cards out, they read it to their partner. The point is, you need to review these word cards every single lesson because it's about learning this vocabulary. Let's see. Ask it, you review the words, then ask each child to choose a silent E word, and when it's his turn, read the word out loud. Come to the chart or to the board and write it, and then draw the arrow to show that Magic E gives its power to the vowel. This is a chance for them to come up to the board. If you don't want to do it on the board that you're using, use a chart paper. If you don't want to do it on a chart paper, use a board. But have some way that they can come up and, in 2 seconds, it's a 4-letter word, so it won't take very long. Good. I see that you're all learning the important job that Magic E does. What does he do? Yes, and whatever. They'll have different ways of expressing it. I hope they'll have different ways because it means you have given it in different formats. You have said, Magic E makes the vowel say his name. Magic E gives his power to the vowel to say its name. Silent E gives its power. And all of those are correct and true. And they need to be able to look at it from different perspectives. So use all of them and accept all of those which are correct answers. Now you hand out the books and children will whisper read while you circulate to listen to them. For the day 3 activity, there are 4 pictures at the bottom. The children will cut the pictures out and paste them in the space in the correct order that comes from the story. So again, they may have to look in their books to see, which one happened first? Well, actually it's this one where he's come up to bat, he's got the bat, he's kind of like, I wonder what's gonna happen. That's how it starts. So they cut the pictures out, decide which one is first, put it here, and write a sentence. Mike has a bat, or this is Mike. It's their sentence. It should not be from the book. It's their own sentence. That's the first one. Let's see. Then Mike can hit. Mike gets a hit. He can hit. Any of these are fine because it tells about the picture and so on. Mike can run. He can run. He runs. And they win. He wins. The pals win. The kids win. Whatever. And if they are confused about which one comes first, look in the book. It's not a test. It's an activity to promote thinking. So they're busy doing that. You call the next group for session. Huh? Now, on day 4, come together, hand out all the word cards, silent E word cards and all the sight words. Hand them out. Students read their word to their partner. Remembering always that reading something to a group is less effective than reading to one person and having one person read to you. And then the child can read it to the group and goes up to put it back, either in the column of silent E words or in the column of sight words. So it's my turn. I'm reading game. My word's game. What's your okay, yes, you have game. What do you have make? Okay. Good. Now it's my turn. My word is make. Okay, now I go up and I put it back on the chart where it had been. That's important because all of a sudden we're seeing all the Magic E words in one line and all the sight words in another. Without saying a word, there's visual discrimination going on. That's like that, that's like that. That's Magic E, that's Magic E. Oh, yeah, okay. So much of what is happening in their brain, we never have access to. But we have to believe it's happening and we have to give a chance for it to happen by keeping quiet. We have to say less and let them think more. So they go back to their tables and they do their activity, which now let's lighten up a little bit. We've been doing a fair amount of heavy duty writing and stuff. Now they're just going to draw a picture to show this sentence. Mike has a bat. So draw that. So this tells you that they can read it and understand the sentence. Mike did not get a hit. So will they make a sad face? Will they make him looking down? Will they make him sitting out on the grass? What will show that he didn't get a hit? Mike ran and ran. Mike did win the game. So they should show him happy. Oh yeah, whatever, you know. And then at the bottom, they have a chance to again practice putting marks. And it just says put talking marks. So that's day 4. And they can do that. They can read the story to themselves one more time, and they can play the matching game from last week's book, Mac Gets Well. Keep those matching games readily available because you can use them in the second week, the big game, and in the next week, the joke, the next story that we'll be doing. So those, because they're the same thing, they're practicing silent, he makes the vowel say its name, and distinguishing between the short vowel word, like tap and tape. And so they go back to do their work and you call the next group. And on the last day of the lesson, take the words from the silent E column and give a word card to each student. Partner A reads his card to partner B, tells the silent E rule. Then partner B tells, my word's game. And see, silent E makes A say his name. So I have had to articulate what I've learned to my partner. My partner has articulated that to me. So each student then reads the card to the group, points to the silent E, and hangs the card back on the chart. At this point, we're giving the children a second, maybe 15 seconds, to get up and move. Because we always have to give them a chance to get those squigglies out before we want to focus again on the reading bit. So I had my word card, I had the word game, that was my word game, silent E. Then I'm telling everybody, my word was game, and silent E makes A say his name, and I'm going to put it here. And I get up from my chair and I go and do that. Teacher says, so what did we find out this week about silent E? What does silent E do at the end of a word? And they'll give their various responses, which you repeat if they're correct. And if they're not okay, and say, you know what, we'll hold that for another time. I don't know what else they might say, but you never know. Now they whisper read, and you come around and do that assessing and make your little notes. And when they go back to their seats, the activity is a page where they have to fill in missing words, but the words to choose from are at the bottom in a separate little line. So the first one says, Mike came to the Now, the words are here, and these are sentences from the story. So if they don't know where to begin, well, let's see. Oh, there it says, Mike came late to the game. Mike came late to the game. You might give them a word of advice. After you have used a word, you can put a line through it so you know you've used it. Early on in first grade, even if we want to use the word late, twice, I've written it twice. And I think we do need, maybe not, maybe not in this lesson, maybe it's another lesson. So if we want late twice, I've given it twice in the choice. So they cut it the first time, and oh, I need that word again. Oh, there it is, I'll cut it a second time. And they fill the words in here. And of course, they need to make sense. So you ask them to read your paper with your partner and see if you agree that it was a good choice. If he says, I hope I get a hit, said Fine. Fine? Is Fine a member of our story? I don't think so. Can you try again on that? So his partner might say, it's not Fine. Come on. Find the kid's name. So the kids can also support each other because you're busy. And they can again play the matching game from last time, both the first matching game and the second matching game. If you want to take both matching games out for day 4, you can do that too. I just don't know how much time you're going to have and how much supervision it will require. because we haven't yet figured out how to give you a helper while you're doing this literacy work. Okay. Those are my points I wanted to mention. So your turn. Because if we have time, which we might, which we do, I think, we can do one more story today. We can do the joke. Because we have 10 stories to cover with only 7 sessions. So over to you with comments or questions.
Ma'am, this partner game which you have explained, this game they are playing in that small group with 6 students or with whole class?
Do you mean the matching game?
Partner game.
No, there isn't a partner game. Let's look at day 5.
A reads his card to partner B.
Yeah. That's, you've got a group of 6 or 7 or maybe, okay, 8 kids. And hopefully, it's better if you can have an even number because then they'll be partners. So Amit and Ravi are sitting next to each other, so they're partners. So each kid has I have the word game, he has came here. So Ravi and Amit are doing a partner. So I say, okay, Amit, listen, my word is game. And see silence. And then Amit turns to Ravi and does it. So it's just those 2 kids in the small group that right in front of you. And you're also able to listen. I mean, okay, most of them are talking around the same time, but you can listen and they, okay, he said game, he said came, he said may, that they've said it correctly and they can explain it. Okay. Now on the matching games, that's an opportunity for children who finish early to continue to practice this particular topic. Silent E makes Val say his name with either whoever sits next to them at their table group. They're back now in their classroom, away from you, or they look around and say, hey, listen, you want to play? Because I'm done. So these 2 can go over in a corner and sit on the floor and play the matching game. That can be, and this is part of setting up your class management right away in the beginning of the term. But that's a rule. If you have finished your work and if you have checked it and checked it with your partner, or because so-and-so ma'am happens to be visiting today, if you've shown it to her, then you can take a matching game and find someone else who would like to work with you on this. So it doesn't have to be somebody sitting in their little group of 6 or 8 kids at the table, but they have to learn how to manage their behavior and their time. And that's something you have to teach them. Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Somebody else is talking but is muted. Kanika? No? Is it Kanika? Anybody else?
No, ma'am. I was talking to Doctor. She was asking.
We need her. Okay, what else? Good clarification there, Rashika. Good.
I have a query, ma'am.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this all looks very practical when we are doing it in the real classroom, right? Like we are working with a small group and everything. But I don't know, I should ask this or not, but still, since I believe that in April, maybe for a month or something like that, if we are going to do it online, then how are we?
No. We have never anticipated this kind of work online. Now, I don't even know what the format you are using for your online classes now. I don't know. I've seen other schools where there are much smaller numbers of children. I mean, most schools have half the number you have. So right from the beginning, I think Mamta and I have suggested this would only happen when you are back in regular classroom. And if that means delaying it until July, okay, can't help that. It's possible that you can modify some of this presently if you want to start it in April, if that decision is made by your school, by doing maybe 10 kids at a time in an online reading session, and then sending by email or whatever method you have the worksheets for them to do at home. The problem is they won't have the books unless somehow your school decides to put these online for the kids also. I mean, these are huge questions that are really not up to me to decide. Okay. But my main question is, when you have the children in your classroom, are you beginning to get okay with this system? That's my question.
Yes, ma'am. I think if I talk about the real classroom, things are making sense to me now. I can imagine myself sitting with a group of 6, 7 students, and others are busy doing their work, and the ones who have finished, they're in their corner enjoying something. I can visualize all these things little by little.
Good. And which is exactly why we decided to have these sessions, so that repeating it, you begin to think, oh yeah, now I get it. And it takes many sessions for it to really sink in. So good. I like the honesty with which you people are bringing out your doubts and your questions. More? Are you guys always so shy to say things? I mean, I'm not anybody that you have to worry about or impress or something. You can tell me anything, you know, I'm like your counselor. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, we can do one more story today then. All right, you up for it?
Yes, ma'am.
We have the time. So then let's do the next one in the sequence. It's called The Joke. And I hope I don't know, are you able to, while we're doing this together, are you looking at your lesson plan or looking at the book or looking at anything? Or you just listen? No?
Oh, ma'am. We are listening.
Yeah, that's too bad. I mean, I'm glad you're listening, but
Okay, next time, ma'am, we'll sit
yeah,
with our
if you
lesson
can,
plans.
I don't know, you do split screen or if you have
Yes.
printouts or whatever you have, because if you can follow it along, it makes it like this more meaningful to you, I would think. Okay, so now we have The Joke, which luckily doesn't have any American sports in it. It's a pretty simple-minded story. Let's get this organized. So, The Joke.
One more thing,
Yes,
ma'am, sorry
yes.
to interrupt. Taking that book, that last book which we have discussed, so I should give some information, or we should share some information about baseball with the students, as our students are not aware of this
Yeah,
baseball.
but remember, it's the same concept as cricket. You have somebody, the pitcher,
Yes.
you have a batter, the batter has to hit the ball and run, and he has to get, I don't know what you call it, he has to get to that thing with the sticks, the wicket or something, before the ball is caught. If the ball is caught, then he's out, right?
So do we need to share any video before starting this lesson, or any other information?
If you just
Okay.
explain, it's the same thing, you know, you hit your ball, you try to get on base, or you try to get a point, and it's enough. And in fact, softball and baseball are coming, and there's a huge league of Indian kids playing baseball in Delhi now. Someone I know is running it. So it's beginning to gain ground, and kids who watch cartoons and stuff on TV, they would have been exposed to it, because it is like cricket is here, baseball is there, and in Japan also, and Korea. So it's not so unusual. It's not like I'm talking about lacrosse or some game that no one's ever heard of. Anyway, the other thing is, in upper KG, they had a similar book called Jim Wins, and it practices the short I sound, but it's the same thing. A little kid wants to play with the big kids, and it's baseball. So if they have done that, maybe not this year, but next year, the whole idea has been a little bit more familiar. Okay, good. All right. And another point on any of this, any story, any vocabulary or concept that you come across from all this material that you think is a little unusual or you want more background on it, don't wait for a session. Let me know myself. Just email me, peggysuit@gmail.com. Couldn't be easier. You can always say, well, what is this about? There might even be things in grammar that you're curious about. I'm just finishing a thing for class 2 where the lesson is all the ways that we make sound of the letter Y. Ya as a consonant in yes and yellow. Long I in try, by, my, and long E in baby, many, happy. My own husband, who I think is pretty well educated, argued with me that Y can never be a consonant and a vowel. It can't. Wait, it is now. What can I do? Y is ya when it's yes, but it's I when it's in try. So I know if he has this doubt, many teachers have the same doubt. So if you come across something like that, please don't sit in embarrassment or anxiety. Let me know. It'll take 2 seconds to sort it out. And look, I'm learning stuff all the time, so like, it's okay to ask. So the joke. So boys and girls, I'm glad to see you here at our group this morning. And here's our new story for the week. It's called The Joke. And you know, what happens is that Rafe, that's a weird name. It's actually Raphael, but they've used Rafe, R-A-F-E, because silent E makes A say his name. So the book has played a few tricks on us as well, jokes. So Rafe and Gail go to the beach, or to go to the lake to play, and then something funny happens at the end of the story. I won't tell you that yet, but that's what's going to happen. Prime them with a little interest and curiosity. So I'm going to show you the word cards. Rafe is the boy's name. Gail is the girl's name. And then there's bike. Oh, you know, bike is a short word for bicycle. You know, in some countries they call a cycle a bicycle, and then they just say bike. So that's what it is. That's enough of it. I'm sure they've heard the word bike, so it's not a big deal. Another word is road. See, silent E makes O say his name. Take, they'll know that word. Wade. You might have to explain wade means to go slowly into the water, like in the splash pool, you just go very slowly, you wade into the water. Dive, dove. Now I might dive today, but yesterday I dove, and dove is a long O sound like stove, and side and joke. Now, the reason I have specifically put that dove makes a long O sound like in stove, it's because, you know, there's a kind of soap and a shampoo called Dove, and there's the bird, the dove. Thank you, English language. Can't help it. But in this lesson, that word is pronounced dove. It's the past tense of dive. It sounds like stove. Silent E makes O say his name. That's it. And luckily in this story, there are no birds like doves. So the kids are not going to get confused. And they probably won't encounter doves for a long time. At least hope so. You say each word, you point to the silent E that makes the vowel say his name, and you hang it in a column just like you did last time. As you hang it, you say it again, because some kid might have been dreaming and suddenly he sees you doing something and he looks up and he hears you say side. Oh my God, I don't know what else she said, but okay, she said side. How many times do you notice that that happens during your class? All of a sudden the kid is like, huh? So never miss an opportunity to repeat something with a little action. Now, we have a little chart to look at. This chart has the lesson words. Yeah, it's bigger than I am. Bike, dive, road, bone, dove, what else? Wade, side, joke, lake. Okay. The basic silent E words that make the vowel say its name, you've written those on a chart. Students will have a turn to place our magic arrow, which I now put over here someplace. Yeah, they can come up to this chart and have a chance. So students have a turn to place the arrow, this one, to show that silent E makes I say his name. Silent E makes I say his name, dive. Silent E makes O say its name, bone, and so on. Each child gets a turn. And when you say, okay, wait a minute, tell me how does that happen? But it's like silent E, and you know, like it gives its power to O. Children will say it in their own words. There'll be a little halting, but you're hearing that they've understood the concept. And after the child says the word, you repeat it. So he says bone, bone. Good. Now we'll need these words for our new story. So here are your books. Let's do a picture walk. So you go through, you just show each picture, give a little comment. Oh, here they are at the lake. Oh, here's their dog. I think the dog's name is Hal. Just kind of a little commentary, quickly going through the books. Huh? Now I'll read the story. You look at the pictures and the words as I read them, but you don't have to say anything. Please remember that that is critical. The children are listening to you and looking at the pictures and words. That's enough for them to be doing at one time. So can you find any words in this story that have the magic E? Let's look. Why don't you go ahead and look? Oh yes, there's one. Lake. Good one. That was a good find. Can someone else find one? You had one? Yeah, you can say it. Go ahead. Wade. Wade. Oh, that was a good choice. Wade. That means just to go into the water slowly. You know, there's that kid who never says anything, but you can see him going, and you think he wants to say Wade, so prompt him. I think I see your mouth making the word Wade. Was that the one you wanted to say? Yeah. Can you tell it loudly? That's the child who's so reluctant to speak. So you've done half the job for him. So they find a few words that have silent E makes vowel say his name. And you point out the talking marks and the comma again in this story, just because we repeat it gently over time and it finally clicks. Now, you whisper read as I come around to listen to you. Now, as I mentioned last week, and this is a choice you have to make by yourself. Sometimes, and in the upper classes and in the harder books, it's definite. Sometimes we just have a quick look at the pictures, then I read and you look at the pictures, and then the second time I read and the children look at the words. So that is 2 times that the teacher has read the story. Once they're just looking, okay, I get it. Okay, oh, there's the bone. Okay, the dog. Okay, oh, the dog's in the water. Okay. They're just understanding from the pictures. The second reading, now they should look along while you're reading. Hal ran to get the bone. So they should look at the words. Bone, oh yeah, there's a bone, okay. Get the bone, said Rafe. So in the second reading, they're looking at the words and while you're listening. You have to decide if that's necessary, depending upon how quick your children have picked up reading. If it is necessary, do it. It only takes an extra 2 or 3 minutes, but it's essential. If they got it in the first round and you know that they can get the bone, said Rafe, if you know that they can do it, then fine. So they're reading, whisper reading, you're circulating, you're checking on them, you're making notes in your little sticky notes, and then they go back to the tables where they are again practicing. Color the magic E red, circle the long vowel blue. Why? Because this weird thing of silent E is a very tricky phenomena for people for whom English is not the first language. Even now you will hear people wanting to say things like sidey or divey. They will pronounce the E because they don't know this rule. when I first began to do some of these sessions for teachers, there was sort of a, oh my God, really? Attitude. That there could be a marker for the long vowel. People were just having to memorize all these words, D-I-V, dive, without understanding how to figure it out themselves. So take the time in these 3 or 4 lessons to make it quite clear to the children. Day 2, come back, have a quick look at yesterday's sheet. You don't have to look at every child's and look, but just show a few of them and say, oh, that's really good. Yes, I see we've got all of our magic E's are red and blah, blah, blah. Okay. That also validates the work that they did. And of course, you choose a different kid every day and so on. So review the idea of the story. Well, let's see, what do I remember about the story? Maybe you can help me. I know the children went to play at the lake and then the dog wanted something. Oh yeah, right, thank you, he wanted the bone. Okay, so he goes and he plays with the bone. What's the silly thing that happens at the end? Oh yeah, that was great, wasn't it? When Ray fell in the water, that was fun. Okay, la la la, we all had a good time reading the story. Hello, you should be smiling by this time because you're imagining what fun it's going to be to have this lesson with your children and watching them giggle and you're like, oh, I know that was a funny thing. You have to be that person in that lesson. So can you chill a little bit? You're looking way too serious. So what was the funny part at the end of the story? Oh, by the way, boys and girls, what does wade mean? Remember the word wade? Can someone talk to us about that? Okay, that's a good idea. Right, it means like you walk into the splash pool very slowly. What does dive mean? Did anyone ever do a dive? Okay, and dove? Good. Just quick revision of some of the tricky words. The partners read, you have already, also you looked at the word cards. You've reminded them all of the words in the lesson. Partners read aloud, turn by turn on each page. You're circulating and making notes. When they go back to their table, they're putting talking marks in sentences that are in the story. I can ride my bike, said Rafe. It is fun to wade, said Rafe. So they are reading, they're practicing the words that are in this lesson, and they're putting the talking marks. That's day 2 for you. They read the story to themselves at their tables, and they can play the matching game with a partner if there's time. Some days there'll be time, and some days there won't be. Some days a few kids will have played the matching game, but not everybody, because if they came to you early in the lesson, they had more time. These guys came towards the end of the period. So maybe tomorrow you want to call that group first so they can finish their work and play the matching game. Whoa. This is just as complicated as running your household. Somebody wants rumble tumble, somebody wants paranta, somebody wants a boiled egg. Yeah, it's the same thing, running reading groups in your class, okay? So you already know how to live that way, so what's the problem? Next group comes. And before I do the next group, I have to let my dog in because he's crying at the door. So 1 second. Why do you always do this? Go and sit down. Sorry. I'm not even such a big dog lover, but he is apparently a people lover, so that's why he's here. Okay, day 3. Come on back, everybody. Today, I'm going to show you a chart that has some short vowels and some long vowels. So you will have made this chart. Each student reads 1 short vowel word and 1 long vowel word and explains the difference. So it's Sonu's turn, and Sonu says, ran, make, a. Well, that's right, Sonu, but how do you know that this says a? Because silent E makes A say his name. Well, good for you. Okay, who wants to try the next word? Okay, good. Yeah, tin and time. Okay, tell us the difference. Oh, this is it, and this is I. Now, they already can read all of these short vowel words because they've been doing it right through upper KG and a little bit of revision with you. Now they've learned to put silent E at the back of the word, make the vowel say his name. So this is just a quick revision chart. Good, I see you're all learning the important job that Magic E does. What does Magic E do? That's right, da 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 da. For today's reading, you give the children a chance to be in reader's theater. So one person reads the book part, and one person reads Rafe's part, and one reads Gail's part, and one reads Hal, the dog. And so they take turns throughout the book. And because you have more children than that, you'll have to do it a second time. But it's a fairly short book. You'll probably have time to do it. While they're reading, you're paying attention to the way they're doing it. Are they being able to follow when it's their turn? Do they know Mike rode his bike to the lake? Mike, Rafe. So I'm the book person, and I knew I had to follow directions for that. Oh, I have more to read. It is fun to wade in the lake. It's still my turn. Gail came to the lake. Gail and Rafe. Hal ran up to Rafe. Oh, now Rafe has to say something. If I'm Rafe, I have to be looking for those talking marks. Dive in, said Rafe. It's fun to wade. Now my talking time is over because the talking marks are closed. Who's the book person? He has to pick up and start reading. The narrator has to. So this really makes the kids focus on what's on that page and read the part they're responsible for. We draw them into the work and they take it much more seriously. So this is an introduction to Reader's Theater where each person has a part to read and participates. Let's see, day 3 activity is filling in the missing words like we did last time from the words at the bottom. And here's an example where the word lake appears twice because they'll need it twice to fill in the sentences. Rafe rode his bike. These are sentences from the story. It is fun to wade in the lake. So whatever is missing here is from the book. And they should be encouraged to go back and find it and check it and write it. That's the point. They should get it right because they have figured it out for themselves. It doesn't, if they write it incorrectly and you say wrong, where's the learning? The learning is when, oh, I don't know what this could be. Let me look in the book. Oh yeah, that's what it is. That moment is a learning moment. They read the story with their partners today. They finish their worksheet, and then again, it can be the partner sitting next to the child, or it can be, oh, are you done? Okay, let's read. Wow. You're giving the children a chance to make these decisions and plans by themselves. You've never done this before, and they've never been given the chance before. Even at home, they're told, put on your blue socks. But I want to put on your blue socks. So they've never been given a chance. Okay, you can wear whatever color socks you want today. Whoa, what color will I wear? Maybe they want to wear one blue and one white. Will the parents allow that? We don't give children a chance to really think for themselves and make simple decisions. Not asking what university they're going to go to. I'm saying, what color socks do you want to wear? And you're saying you can choose a partner to read with. This is a huge thing. Think about how much different it is from what they've done before. And then they can, at this time, they can play the matching games again. And so on day 4, let's see, come together. Teacher calls on each child in the group to read aloud any 2 words. Now, I'm a big proponent of volunteerism. If we say to the child, read these 2 words, I don't know those words. If we say to the child, okay, you're going to choose 2 words. So take a minute, choose your words. Okay, let me know when you're ready. Okay, Maya, why don't we start with you? Sure. Which 2 words do you want to read? So she says, whatever she says, joke and Rafe. So I point to them while she's saying it. Joke, Rafe. Now, next person, who would you like to go next? Okay, what are your 2 words? Oh, You know, honey, she's already said joke. So can you pick another one? Good. Okay. Are you ready? It's important for the children to have a chance to process, to choose, to think, to be able to say those words. If you start here and go around to each child, there'll be that panic. There'll be a kid who's not ready. He won't say anything. And what are you achieving? So think time. So today, each person can choose 2 words, or any 2 words you want. And when it's your turn, raise your hand when you're ready. You can read 2 words to us. Now, if you've gone through all of the words and then there's a repetition, that's okay. But the first 2 or 3 kids shouldn't say the same words. Any 2 words from the word list. Let's go back and think about this story. Why did Hal want that bone? Hal's the dog. Why does he want the bone? Okay, accept any reasonable answer. He's hungry. Dogs like bones. He wanted to play. Any reasonable answer. How did Rafe fall into the lake? How did he fall in? That's how you'll know if they were paying attention to the end of the story. Let's look on page 16. Okay. I can see Hal. He's looking happy. What do you think is making Hal happy at this point? There's nothing in the book that tells us that. So this is called inferring, figuring out the answer by yourself. Let's see what the kids might say. Probably they'll say, he got his bone back, he likes bones, he wanted his bone, something like that. That's probably where they're going to go with this. If they don't, so what? This is not great literature. They will never come across this book again the rest of their lives, I hope. So now they whisper read the story, whole story. You're listening as you walk around and making notes. Explain the activity for that day, which is a sheet like this, where they have a picture and they have to write something about it. So it can be something like Rafe can wade, or Rafe goes in the water, or whatever they want to say. If they need a sentence from the book, they can find it, but if they can write it on their own, why not? Rafe gives a bone to Hal. Rafe gives the dog a bone, whatever. Rafe falls in. Rafe goes in the water. They can write their own sentence. It needs to be about the picture. Then they read their stories with their partners, taking turn by turn page. And again, if there's time, they play the matching games. Maybe by this time you've made some more matching games. Your choice. I've given you the one as a sample, but you could make more. Remember, if you want to match 3-letter words with 4-letter words, the 3-letter word has to mean something. So we can't use rake, R-A-K-E, and then R-A-K, because ruck is not a word. So you have to be very careful. Make is a great long A word, but M-A-K is not a word. So if you want a joke is great, but J-O-K is not a word. So great if you can make some more games on your own, but remember to be careful what you pick up. Tip, T-I-P is a good word, but T-I-P-E is not a word. Although the word T-Y-P-E is a word, but don't tell anybody about that right now, okay? And that's the end of day 4. Day 5, come together, show the word chart from day 1 where we had the words of this lesson, oh gosh, which are here. These are the words from this lesson. Now, they must read the word, handing out the word card. So here's the chart, and then I'm going to give you a word card. You have to look at your word card and find the rhyming word. Now, it says that I'm going to give you these sample cards, but I didn't because I forgot. I think you can manage without them because you have to just make them. There are about 7 cards. Mike, make, 5, tone, ride, poke, safe, sail, made. So on the little word card cards that you get, you would just make those word cards, because now you hand out the cards, every kid has one. Oh, my word card says Mike. So my job is to find a word in this list that rhymes with Mike. Oh, I see it. It's bike. So Mike and bike rhyme. Now, Sonu has a card that says tone. Bone, look. My word tone matches with bone. So this is what the children will do. So if you're desperate, I will make those word cards and send them across, but I think you can make 7 or 8 word cards by yourself. So the lesson, the job is, you show this, you read the words. These are the words from the story. Now, I'm going to give a card to each of you. Read your word and see if you can find a word here that rhymes with it, that sounds like it. Okay? When you're ready, hold up your card and you can come up here. Good, come on up, bring your card. Okay, what have you got? Oh, right. I don't know what you've got. Maybe ride. Yes, you have ride and side. Do they sound the same? Ride, side. Another person's ready. Okay, bring your card up. Say your word and say this word. Good. Okay. It's just a way to expand the words and the listening for the ending sound. I'd, of. Partners read with each other while you're going around listening and making notes. And then they have their activity for day 5, which is draw. Draw. Gail came to the lake. Draw that. So they have to remember that Gail is a girl and they have to know what a lake looks like. Hal got wet. Well, Hal's the dog. Hal got the bone. Rafe fell in. They have to read the sentence and be able to understand it and then draw. And then draw what you liked best in the joke. What did you like best in the story? I can bet you now what they like best is when Rafe fell into the water. And blah. So there's your 2 stories for today. I'm sure you've understood that the format of the week is the same. Every day, you review the words that are important for that story because of the sound that they're focusing on. This is the major difference between this system and whatever, was it Mulberry or whatever reading you were doing before. The words were not connected in a sound group. They were just words, random. And for children like ours who are learning English as a second language and with not always strong language at home, it's impossible to just learn a bunch of random words that have no connection. So every one of your lessons, every day of the 5 days, you will review the lesson words and point out whatever the particular point is. In these 3 or 4 or 5 lessons, it's silent E makes the vowel say his name. But as we go on, it'll be other things to point out. So that's number 1, revision of the words. And number 2 is revision of sight words. Simply saying each one and pointing to it is revision. And then how many times in 5 days have these children read that story? I mean, easily 10, maybe 15. And at some point, they might have even memorized a couple of the passages, sentences. That's okay, because it's in here now. In addition to all that vocabulary and word recognition and reading, they're also doing some stuff with language. They're writing some sentences on their own. They're learning about quotation marks. They're filling in certain sounds, focusing on sounds. And this is just the beginning of class 1. It's only, whatever this, week 3. It would possibly, actually, you would not be doing this in April, even if school was open, because in April, you would be doing revision of upper KG. And you'd really only be starting this in July, no matter what. because until they are 100% solid in the short vowels, talking about long, silent E makes vowels say his name is meaningless. It's as meaningless as if you went home and started explaining it to your mother-in-law or your grandmother. But they don't have any foundation to make sense out of it. In grade 1, there are some components of your, what you used to call your grammar stuff. Not so much as in grade 2, but some. And then, you know, as we go through the books, you'll see that. And the other main thing that you're doing is teaching children to be independent in their learning time. Make choices, use their time wisely, figure out how to work with a partner. Now, these have nothing to do with English. These have to do with life. So look at the huge amount that you're doing with just those 88 minutes that you have every day. Okay, now questions, comments? Help?
Good afternoon, ma'am.
Yes, hi, Shipra.
I have few questions, ma'am.
Good.
Number one is the last activity which you told, ma'am, where the sentence would be written and children would be asked to draw that, right? Where, yes, ma'am, where it's like another one, where dog, well, some sentence on dog was there.
Okay, let me see. It must be right here. This is day 3, day 5. Oh, here. Where they had a picture and they had to write something. Is this one?
Ma'am, yeah, I need to relate with this, ma'am.
Okay.
Here we are giving the picture and they are writing the sentence. So the very first thing is, are we supposed to make sure that the lines you have drawn, do we have to make the same lines or the 4 lines as we have in the notebook?
You are going to photocopy this page. This is what you're using. And I've had this conversation with Barka and Tapasya and Mamta and everybody else. This is what we're going to use. And we're going to use the same kind of writing paper for handwriting lessons. In fact, for virtually everything. This will be the size of writing paper in upper KG and in class 1. And in class 2, they'll move to this kind of paper. And the school is going to get it printed so that you'll have this paper, okay? And because by this time, the children's fine motor skills are developed enough that they can write small letters. In upper KG and first grade, they're still learning their letter formation. And as you can see, this gives space. And it also has a space. They write in here. I don't think I have a copy right now to show you. And the letters that come below the line, there's a little space down here where the G and the Y and the P can still fit. So visually, they can make the letter P and have it come down, okay?
Got it, ma'am, got it.
These things that have come to Tapasya are exactly what you're going to photocopy and use as is, okay?
Okay, ma'am, right.
And I think that's important because we found out when they tried to make some variation in the spelling program, something happened, whether it was a matter of the typist or the computer went crazy, and then it became unusable. It was completely wrong. So I'm suggesting that we stick with what we've got. But thank you. What else, Shipra? Other things?
Ma'am, other thing is, if we'll do the vice versa of this activity, as you shown in one of the sheet also, where the sentence is written and they have to draw. Ma'am, there are certain children who are not good in drawing. If an example, I take my name, I do not know even how to draw a flower. In that case, what should be an alternative to be provided to that kid?
Listen, kids do know how to draw, and they can draw until somebody says, huh? That's not a dog. It looks like a mouse. That's when they cannot draw. There is no child on earth who's, if you give him some crayons or chalks or pencils, won't all over a page when he's 2.5, 3 years old. And if we will shut up and stop commenting on them, they'll do wonders. So a drawing in this case is simply a stick figure. Maybe let's see. Okay, Gail, the girl. Okay, it's a stick figure with a skirt. and a poodle of water, bus. The dog, okay, makes a dog. These are not artistic, this is not the art class. This is representing something that tells us Hal got wet. So our job is to say, oh, I see, now that's the dog over there, even though it looks like a kangaroo. And yeah, we have to keep this, and this is why, again, in the nursery class, they're starting with their journals. Every single day they're doing journaling, and they're doing whatever. It's scribble, it's a bunch of lines and circles, then pretty soon it's I made a bird. And the teacher is saying, oh, I'm so glad you told me, because I would never have guessed. But fine, honey, that's a nice bird for today. By the time they come to you, they'll be able to draw. Okay?
Okay. Ma'am, another question is, you showed that word list chart, right? And you also mentioned that we can read out these words to kids before we start reading a chapter or a story. So can we also discuss the vocabulary, the difficult words in advance?
Of course. As and when you come across them, you definitely would. At this stage, most of these words are pretty simple, and they've heard them, or they can say them. But that's why I mentioned the word dove. They may not know the word dove, because they don't do a lot of swimming around here. So they wouldn't have come home and said, oh, Papa, today I dove into the pool. They won't say that because they don't do it. So those kinds of words, or bike, they say cycle. But bike is a wonderful word for them to learn, because silent E makes I say his name. It's a simple little word. And yeah, they get it. Bike, bicycle, cycle, TA. It's not a big deal. So yes, when the word is Rafe, you have to say, well, that's a boy's name. Gail, oh, well, that's a girl's name. That you have to say. I just go back to one thing that you mentioned there, Shipra. We are going to make word cards for all these words. When I say it in the lesson plan, she shows the word cards for this story. And then I list out the words, Rafe, Gail, bike, road, take, blah, 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 blah. Those will be on cards about this size. And you will write them in your best handwriting and in different colors. Like I showed you last week, in the Mac story. Because you want to have them as discrete things that you can hand out to the children, that you can post on a column, that you can take out and turn over, or do all kinds of games with. This list is for a particular part of a lesson, so that you can put either a matching word or the magic wand. So these are not to be posted as the lesson words. A list like this is static. Word cards are dynamic. You can mix them up. You can put them in alphabetical order. You can hand them out. Kids can pass them around. So it's really important that you make the word cards. And if that gets to be a problem, let me know, because that's something your administration should support. First of all, they're going to get the cards. I've already talked with Tapasi about that. Some standard size will be made in thousands, because you'll all need them. And if it seems impossible that each teacher will make the cards herself, then we'll have to get them printed on the computer. But that loses something for young children. When you have written the cards and said, so here are our cards for the hour. Here are our cards for the week. We're in this together, ma'am and kids. So let's just put that as on the to-do list. We have to make these charts to help our lessons. We have to make the word cards for every lesson. And you can get together as a team, and 2 of you can do this lesson and 2 of you can do that, and you'll have all the word cards made. Okay. Another question from Sipra. Keep going.
Ma'am, this is for me, ma'am. This is the confusion I have from a very good long time. It's as ma'am, whatever Hindi names we do have, right? South Indian adds a at last. For an example, we have Lord Ram in
Rama. Mhm.
right, and they call Rama. And it's
Mhm.
not the case only with this name. It has with so many names, ma'am. What is why do we have this thing? Even in the books I've read, Rama, and sometimes even we do not have an answer when the same kind of question is asked to us, ma'am. Hota to Ram hai, but then it's written as Rama. What is this?
And
So
also Ravana, it's the same
yes,
thing.
ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
there are
ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
many examples. Yeah. So look, I'm not a Sanskrit linguist, okay? But we know that languages are modified by the area in which they are spoken. If I meet a person who I've never met before and he starts speaking and says the word, I'd like to go outside, then I know he's from Canada, because people from Canada say the OU sound in a kind of out way. I say out, he'll say out. I know a person is from Boston if they say the car is going very fast. Fast is the way they speak in Boston. So these are minor pronunciation differences that will happen all over the world. And of course, there are spelling differences. Look at England and the United States. Look at the word labor, harbor. They have OU. We in America, we don't have the OU, we just have O. And I have to mention that specifically in class 2 because they have the word labor and favor. These are, there's no difference in the sound. Favor, labor, labor. The sound is the same. Spelling is different because people manage, they manipulate, they mangle the language to suit their own sound systems. You know that here in North India, there are very many people will say school instead of school. They cannot say the ska, they say iska. Now, we know that that's not how it's spelled. It's not spelled ISCHOOL, but it's there. And so a kid will say to you, but why does my papa say school? And you say, well, that's how some people pronounce it, but we're going to say school. And as far as Ram and Rama are concerned, what's the big deal? I mean, does it matter? I don't know. Does it matter?
No, ma'am, it doesn't matter. But I've just read, even being a teacher, I should be clarified with certain things. If
Okay.
Yeah. something comes upon me, I should be answerable.
So stick with a simple explanation that languages are the way people speak changes in different parts of the country and different parts of the world. And it's okay as long as we can understand each other. Let it go, like, because if we go to South India and say Ram, they'll say that we're wrong, right? So it's relative to where you are and what you are used to. Every few days, I get in the shower and have a what is called a head bath here. I never use that expression. I get in the shower and wash my hair. Now, the same thing is happening, whether I say head bath or wash my hair, but invariably my husband will say, are you having a head bath today? And to me, that means I'm dunking my whole head into a bucket. No, I'm just washing my hair. So these kinds of differences are there, and they're more for fun than anything else.
Got it, ma'am. Clear. Thank you, ma'am.
Most welcome. More questions. These are fun.
That's it from my side, ma'am.
Okay. Other people have thought of some fun questions?
No questions, ma'am. Just want to say that in today's this training, I like two things. First one, that spiral arrangement that we have to make stick-ons for making notes for each child. Yes, this is the best thing. We can make notes in an organized manner. And the second thing, that talking mark activity, that how to make them aware about those talking marks. So I'm going to try this. Thank you for these two things.
Oh,
Right.
you're more than welcome. I don't know what process you have presently for collecting data on your children's progress. I don't have one right here, but these little paper notebooks you get in the market with a lotus on them? You know what I'm talking about? A small copybook. They're still made. Anyway, any kind of a small notebook or even a spiral notebook, make one for 1 page or 2 pages for each child, starting, in alphabetical order, Amit, and then Babu, and then Plana. Because it is in that notebook that you will collect each child's sticky note every day or every few days. Then you will have, in whatever notebook that turns out to be, an entire page full of sticky notes about that child. So there'll be all this stuff about Amit. And if you teach more than just English to him, you can have 1 page for English, another page for math, another page for whatever, science or something. So in this little notebook on Amit, you've got everything you need. Therefore, when it's time to give a report to the parents or write a report card or whatever you people do, you've got it. And no one can question you. Well, how did you say he did that? Well, you see, on October 3rd, he was able to do this. So I know he has learned that. But he doesn't do it at home. I know, but I have many pieces of evidence that he can do it in school. Okay? Make life simple for yourselves. Anybody else picked up any ideas today? I'm looking at a lot of black screens. Archita and Kanika, Dilsha, Garima. Usually Garima says something. I know Priya is very quiet. There's Diksha. Archita is about to say something.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, when Shipra ma'am, just coined the term, she got confused. She is answerable. Because we are teachers, we are answerable to the students always. So like she has questions, Rama, Ram, right? So like I am also exploring English a lot because I love this language. So I usually have seen that for the same thing, there are 2 terms in the American English and the British English. And what we here teach is the Indian English. So like if students come up, okay, for example, if we have a cookie. So I think in the American English, it is termed or coined as cookie, and in the British English, it's a biscuit. So like to which term our kids should stick to, because our kids actually stick to the Indian English, and what should we teach them?
Yeah, well, sure. We call these things biscuits here. We call them biscuits.
But so, English is such a confusing language. Sorry to say.
Yes. Yes.
It is a confusing language, and but sometimes kids come up to us and they say, "Ma'am, this sounds much more better." As in, like.
Stop that.
You might have heard the term. A kid coined the term. She came up with something in her dish. She came up with her lunch. Oh, I got vermicelli today. So it was Ambino for her. It was vermicelli because it sounded better. So I just wanted to know, like, how to differentiate it because each and every child like to have different terms and names.
Sure. Great, because it means they're expanding their vocabulary. It means they've been exposed to something, whether through an advertisement on TV or something they found on the internet or some visitor to the house, who knows. But vermicelli is the English, actually originally Italian word for those long strings of noodles.
And sometimes kids are actually confused with the other, let's say, Ronovu, and some words are from the other accents. Let's say champagne is an Italian or a French word. I'm not sure of it, but they come up with those words and they actually seek them. And sometimes we also seek them as the English language words. So how to differentiate it?
Well,
how do you understand it's different? Maybe we should have the proper knowledge of it.
Look, we can spend our entire lives trying to learn languages, even one language. You can spend our whole life trying to really learn that. So you've only just started. You look like you're about 22 years old, so you have a long way to go. But First of all, it doesn't matter at the age level you're teaching children whether they know that Champagne is actually a place in France from which this kind of wine is grown. They don't need to know that. They don't need to know the vermicelli originally is an Italian. This is not important. What is important is, okay, what do we call vermicelli here in the market? If you went to buy this, what would you say to the Hindi-speaking shopkeeper? So now they know the Hindi word, they know the English word. And what do you call it? Savion or something, no?
That's completely right.
Fine. So what's the problem? Hindi made Savion, English made vermicelli. There you are, end of story. As far as cookie and biscuit, some of these common things like cookies and biscuits, they need to know eventually that some people call it a cookie and some people call it a biscuit, because the word cookie comes in a lot of American storybooks.
Yes.
Well, it's not a big intellectual exercise. I mean, you can figure it out. They call it a cookie, they call it a biscuit. Big deal, okay? What a braid and plait. So you make your hair into a plait, Americans make it into a braid.
Great.
If it comes up in a store, you simply have, oh, they call it a braid. Okay, you know what, it's a plait.
They should not be hard and fast rule for the kids, especially to learn the language.
And you know, sometimes you'll find a family that has relatives in America. Those kids are calling it cookies and braid, and they come home to India and tell their cousins that, oh, you know, oh no, we don't call it biscuit, we call it a cookie. So now this kid in India is thinking, oh my God, I better call it a cookie or they'll laugh at me. So this is the typical thing that kids go through. I don't think you or Shipra or any of you should be agonizing over details about it. One, what's the meaning of the word? How do we use it? And oh, sometimes people call it something else. Okay.
Perfect.
Right?
Thank you so much, ma'am.
You're welcome.
Ma'am, good afternoon, ma'am. I need to just ask one question. It's like I have come across with one common sentence that each and every child writes, like whenever we are asking our child to describe a particular thing, right? If you give him like a picture of an apple, so one sentence that always come across is apple color is red, and they don't put apostrophe mark. They don't write the color of apple is red. So is it
Wait a
correct?
minute, no. Well, apple color is red. I mean, that is technically correct. It's an awkward sentence. Normally one would say the color of an apple is red, or red is the color of an apple. But at the moment when children are just starting to craft a sentence, be happy that they've got that. What did you say? Apple color is red?
Yes.
Actually, that's a lot for a class 1 student. I wouldn't expect them to use the word color. They probably can't spell it correctly anyway. If they write apple is red, that's okay too. But don't worry. So you mentioned that they don't put apostrophe S.
Yes.
Because it doesn't belong there. Unless the sentence says the apple apostrophe S color is red. But no class 1 student should be expected to do that. And if you'll notice in all of the storybooks in class 1 and class 2, there is no apostrophe S. That's something that class 3, or maybe at the end of class 2, is beginning to figure out. So it doesn't have to come anywhere in what your children are doing. Also, in most of these books, they are using the present tense of the verbs because so many verbs are irregular. So if they have to make something in the past tense, they'll use the word did. He did go to the lake rather than he went, because the kids can read did. That's a simple enough word and they use it all the time, you know. So please notice that we are limiting what we're trying to teach the children to what they can use effectively, okay? Now, if you are doing shared writing and you write, today is Amit's birthday, if that's your shared writing, or if it's your morning message, yeah, you put the apostrophe S and then wait for some kid to say, but ma'am, why it says that? And then simple sentence. Oh, well, it tells us that the birthday belongs to Amit. Let it go. So don't worry about it. Okay. Go back to your curriculum map for class 1. Whatever is in there, we are responsible for. If it's not in there, we're not doing it. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Thank you. Good question. More? Come on. Swati, Diksha, surely something's on your mind that you're worried about. You're okay? All right.
No questions right now, but I would just say that like when we teach magic key to the children.
Oh, a little louder. I can't hear you.
Am I audible?
Yeah, okay.
Ma'am, no questions from my side, but I feel that it was an interesting session, and I am seeing that like we read the books and then there are like activities related to it. For example, there is a book on magic key, then we show them the words, and then there are activities related to it. So this is something, after reading 2-3 books, they will be very clear about what magic is, and they will use a lot of words using magic E. So I think I'm enjoying the session, and I'm like looking forward to follow these.
I hope so.
Thank you, ma'am.
Well, thank you. That you're absolutely right. They will be exposed to the thing over and over and over again. And not only that you're putting it out there, they're having a chance to pull it in by doing it, and having to do it on their own. It's not like a whole group lesson where you say, okay, now everyone write J-O-K-E, joke. No, they're having to do it by themselves. What a difference.
Right.
Now, what we haven't talked about is how you are going to have to look at their papers. Not all of them every day, but you'll have to carve out time, and you may have to ask for this now as part of your time. You have these stay back Friday businesses. You may have to ask for an hour or an hour and a half built into your weekly routine officially by the school, because no one should expect you to do all of this correction work at home. Because there is, and it's important to look at the papers so that you know what the kids are missing and that you have to reteach or emphasize in the next couple of days. So this is a structural piece which I'm noting now, that you have to be given, and I'll mention this to Tabasya and Mamta, you have to be given time to look at their work, write your notes, and pull out of that. Not so much to give the paper back to the kids because, oh, this is wrong, but for you to learn, they are not clear on this point. And then also to put whatever we decided, as we talked about last time, some kind of a little note on the packet to send to the parents to assure them that Amit is meeting expectations or Amit is performing very well, or whatever you want to say at the end of every week. Keep the parents happy. And if they're happy, they'll stay away. It's only when they're anxious that they're going to come hovering around your door. So preempt it. Send the stuff home. And if it's a kid who's not doing very well, then you need to put that down, that, you know, Sonu is making progress, but he needs to practice his blah, 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 whatever. And here's a book that he can read at home to practice. Okay. Let's see. So a time to review work. Okay. Yeah. Good. Nothing else? Okay. Well, we're scheduled for next Friday as well. If someone can try to send me the Zoom link early in the morning or the day before, because then I can be sure that I'm set up properly. Okay?
Sure, ma'am, sure.
That would be helpful. So next Friday, we'll do maybe 2 more, or maybe I think next Friday might finish the long E stuff. So silent E stuff. Where did the book go? Let's see. Next week, we'll do the cake. Yeah. Okay. Try to prepare yourself a little bit for the cake. Review all of this stuff on Silent E makes the vowel say his name. and anything else, because after that, the books, each book takes a different thing. Book 5 takes the double E sound. Book 6 takes OA, goat, then AI, sail, then EA, seal. So we spent a long time on silent E makes the vowel say his name, but the others will not have so much time on, and you'll need to really understand what you're doing in that one book. Book number 5, the B, then totally different thing. 6, the goat, OA. So those we'll probably have to spend the full session on. Anyway, you prepare. We'll see what we'll talk about, whatever we want to next Friday. Okay? Okay, everybody.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Take care. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your questions. Bye-bye. Bye.